The government's traditional post-budget promotional blitz was in full swing this morning.
Jim, welcome to News Breakfast. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to see you both.
Prime Minister, welcome to News Breakfast.
Good morning.
On TV and radio, and ever more on social media, with some of Labor's leading millennials showing how it's done.
She'll pay her mortgage off in her 40s. She'll pay her mortgage off in her 60s. She may never pay off her mortgage.
And even older hands giving it a crack. Labor's approach of targeting younger voters directly in their feeds is at least partially designed to counter a barrage of negative headlines about broken promises, as well as opposition condemnation.
Why did Labor lie to Australians about your plan to tax them more?
We were the baby boomers. We didn't have a lot. Then we saved and we invested.
The government's communication strategy reflects the risks it's taking with last night's budget. The overhaul of capital gains tax, negative gearing and family trusts will eventually raise many billions of dollars a year in additional tax, but it will anger many older voters, while the purported winners, a large cohort of younger voters who are not as heavily tapped into traditional media, may not notice. The Treasurer making the intergenerational case for action at the traditional post-budget press club lunch in the Great Hall.
There's nothing aspirational about stacking the deck against younger Australians. There's nothing aspirational about knowing that the housing market and the tax system are intersecting to shut a whole generation of Australians out of the dream of home ownership and leaving that undisturbed or unattended to.
The Treasurer deflected questions on why the government broke its promise ahead of last year's election not to introduce new taxes.
It would have been easier but wrong to leave these arrangements in place for longer and leave it to someone else to fix them.
The government only settled on its decision to target CGT and negative gearing late in its preparations.
Either towards the end of April or perhaps the beginning of May, but in the last few weeks.
Now, this will be a test for the Labor government in 2 years' time. Will these reforms actually help to ease the housing crisis?
Tuesday's budget has clearly set the stage for where Labor wants to fight the next election on housing, intergenerational fairness and providing Australians an alternative to the rising populist tide. It also heaps fresh pressure on Angus Taylor ahead of tomorrow night's budget reply speech, which is shaping up as a make-or-break moment for the new opposition leader to challenge a seemingly untouchable government.
It will be the building blocks upon which we will be starting to construct our election policies. I think we have to be brave, full stop.
The Coalition showed today where they want to take the fight, accusing the Prime Minister of being hypocritical on property investment.
The Prime Minister has confirmed he has used negative gearing and the CGT discount. And the Prime Minister, I note, has bought a $4 million property in Copacabana. So why is the Prime Minister stopping the next generation of Australians from using the very opportunities he has personally benefited from?
I have had access to home ownership, and I had it in my 20s. And I had it because my mother, who lived in the one public housing her whole life,
Cook will cease interjecting.
used to say to me, when you get a chance in life, own your own home. It was drilled into me. It's the aspiration that's drilled into working class people. Working class people who want the next generation to be better off than they are.
In a nation where more than 2.2 million people own an investment property, the government's tax changes will reshape how Australians secure their financial futures. Adam Harvey reports.
Governments have been encouraging Australians to lose money on property since the Great Depression. You borrow money, rent it out for less than the repayments, and claim that loss against your income tax. Lose money in the short term, but get it all back and then some when you sell. Negative gearing has forged a nation of investors.
How can you defend a position where 60% marginal taxpayers can get tax breaks by swapping flats built 30 years ago on Bondi Beach not building new ones.
The only government that dared unpick it reinstated it 2 years later.
2 years ago, when I and many others criticised the ban, the Treasurer called us the friends of the tax avoidance industry. Now he parades as the patron saint of the housing industry.
Sort of 1940s, so...
Adam Kentwell is one of the 2.2 million Australians who own an investment property.
There was a lot of issues with the paint, so just last year we had to spend about $30,000 getting it repainted inside and out.
Adam and his wife own 2 investment properties in Newcastle, both bought in 2019 before they were married for $450,000 each. They've pretty much doubled in value after plenty of work and cash.
So you have to incur all the costs in regards to repairs and maintenance and upkeep, as well as funding the mortgage repayments. And typically a lot of investors make losses, and they make losses year after year after year.
As of last night, negative gearing is restricted to newly built homes. People who already use the tax break for existing homes, like Adam, are not affected.
The current system of negative gearing helps to cushion that loss. So, you get a bit of a cushion on making that loss, but you're still making a loss.
The other big change announced last night is the end of the 50% capital gains tax discount for investors who sell.
In other words, they only pay tax on half the gain. So you're getting 100% deductibility, but only 50% taxability. And that's a tremendous giveaway for the taxpayer there.
I've done some modelling which suggests that if you
Taxation Professor Chris Evans has been arguing against the CGT discount for 30 years.
I think, the discount was a mistake and it didn't achieve what it set out to achieve, and instead it turbocharged this whole house price inflation.
House prices in Australia have risen about 400% since 1999, when the tax discount was introduced. Back then, an apartment in Sydney cost $230,000, and the median wage was about $34,000. In 2026, the median apartment price is $888,000. The income now is about $74,000.
Well, I think the end result is that we've got first home buyers unable to access the housing market as easily as they should be, because they're crowded out by speculative property investors.
Do you feel like property investors get a bad rap in Australia?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's sentiment out there that property investors and landlords, I guess, are sort of raking in the rental income and it's a passive income stream. Whereas typically, like most property investors are mum and dad Australians.
The big driver of prices in Australia is the supply of new houses and apartments. Industry groups say that discouraging investors means there's trouble coming for a generation of renters.
See probably less properties coming onto the market, less properties, new builds coming on as a result of these taxation changes, and ultimately that will give Australia's rental public fewer choices around which homes they can live in and higher rents to contend with.
Is your buyer in? Is your buyer out?
The government says one of its goals is to slow the growth in prices, to make housing more affordable for younger buyers.
Can you hear the tree?
If these changes survive the political storm, will they make it more likely that one day Adam's young daughter can afford her own home?
It will slow the growth, but house prices will continue to grow. So there's still obviously a lot of work to be done, and it could be the long term until potentially property prices are a little bit more attainable.